Hello, Gelato Familia. Welcome in, one and all. I'm George, the Disney Italiano. And no, as much as this background seems deceiving, I am out of Orlando, Florida, out of Walt Disney World, and back at home, sort of. um, but yeah, we had a great vacation. Me, Abby, theme park conductor, and Tommy Toon World. And that'll be on a separate video live and all that good jazz because we have a lot to discuss with that. Theme park conductor will be joining me very shortly. I actually see him. I think he's just getting stuff ready. But this live is all about the Walt Disney Company's 2026 shareholders meeting. And this isn't like a normal shareholders meeting, which obviously we all watch and cover it, but this one's going to be very different, very special, very unique. This is kind of history in the making that today Bob Iger steps down as CEO, and today is the official first day for Josh D'Amaro as CEO, and there's been a change up, within the company's titles. People got moved all around. Titles got added, which I'm for sure it'll all be discussed today. I'm actually very excited to see what is to come of the shareholder meeting. But as I said, I'm not doing this alone. I got someone joining today, someone who I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, it's been like ages, but I welcome you all, the one, the only, Josh. No, I'm just kidding. Theme park conductor.
What are you talking about? You saw me a long time ago. Didn't I just see you 8 hours ago? Actually, 10 hours ago.
It was, well, yeah, less than 24 hours.
Man, and you clean up nice.
Thank you.
Baby face right there.
But as I told you yesterday, see, you could still see that 5 o'clock.
And by the time I see you at DCA later today, and everyone stay tuned for that coverage because we're going to be doing the Food and Wine Festival, you're going to have more facial hair.
I know, that's like it'll be fully in. But conductor, before I get to your thought process on this, because we still have a little bit of time, let's check out who is in the chat. First in, we got David. Welcome in, David. Always glad to see you. Vacation was well. We are back. But as I said, we will have lots of content on that. And actually, content is still going to be coming out from all three of our channels, mine, Conductors, and Tommy Tunes, because we recorded a lot. And YouTube and technology was not on our side for this trip. So we're going to try to get it up as quickly as we can. Also, too, for me and Conductors channels, definitely, this is like the perfect time to become members on our YouTube channel because we got all extra special coverage that is only exclusively for members. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We also got Giant Peter in the house, freshly shaven. Yeah, so as of like yesterday, it was freshly shaven. Let's see. Peter continues. He is back at Holo Gelato HQ, sort of. So HQ as far as in the city, but I am at a discrete location somewhere in Anaheim because conductor Abby and I will be tackling the parks later on today. So after we arrive back in Orange County, I'm like, we're going to be there tomorrow. Like, so I just nonchalantly, you guys know me, spontaneously just booked a one night down here in Anaheim. So we are here. And we got Remy D. Welcome in. We got Alan.
Always good to see Alan and Remy D.
Absolutely. And of course, you have to have the holo with the gelato. Abby in the house.
I want to give a big shout out to Abby because there were a lot of times during the trip. I will tell you this: me and George were goofing off, and Abby's just dealing with it. So she's a trooper. I could tell you that.
Yes, I mean, she had like all three of us, like three fully grown men acting like children for 2 weeks. I mean, that's a tough act.
It is
to handle. But yes, definitely. It was a lot of fun. I think we all had a great time.
Absolutely.
Then we have let's see, uh, Brandon. I'm sorry. How do you say the whole thing? Because I'm like a little bit
Actually, I figured it out. So it's
uh,
Brandon, Lego, Uni Disney fan.
nice. I like it. Welcome in. And actually, Peter, it's funny that you said that because I actually told the guys this yesterday before we departed. It does actually,
It feels weird.
it does feel weird, not like after spending 2 weeks straight with them to wake up and like not see them and not like do our daily activities in the parks and at the resort. So yeah, it's going to be kind of different, kind of getting back, to regular everyday life.
Absolutely.
Let's see who else we got here. And then Brandon says, "Growing men act like children."
I love it.
I'm autistic and a child at heart. Hey, you know what? Nothing wrong with that. I think honestly, I think when you have grown adults that act like children, I feel like it's
The
very
best of both
cleansing.
worlds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is the best of both worlds. Which I have to say, speaking of best of both worlds, I was kind of ticked off that D23 dropped the early premiere for Hannah Montana's 20th anniversary up in
Yeah.
Bourbon, and it was free tickets. It was a first come first serve basis, which I probably wouldn't have got it, but I that's the one thing about D23 is like they don't make announcements until like they do it like very subtle. So
Yeah.
apparently they dropped that when we were at Epcot for our second day. So
Oh wow. So I want to let everybody know. George made a wonderful point a couple minutes ago about the content, because one thing me and George for both our channels try to focus on was for any type of performances like shows, that's going to be members only content permanently because of issues with copyright and all that. So all those shows will be for members only. And once the shareholders meeting starts at 10 a.m., which I still kind of think is kind of late, even though Iger would probably have it at 3 in the morning if it was him, but that's besides the point.
well, what was funny is actually like looking back, it was always at 10 for some reason.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, even it was at 10.
Okay, well, anyway, since it has refreshed on my channel, once we start the shareholders meeting, I will be gifting 5 memberships for Theme Park Conductor. That way anybody that's not a member can enjoy the content. I have one more show that's actually uploading to YouTube because like George mentioned, YouTube was not very gracious to any of us. Some videos went through pretty fast. A lot of videos took forever. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then at the end of the shareholders meeting, I will gift 5 more memberships. So I will be gifting a total of 10 memberships in this live stream for people to enjoy Theme Park Conductor Orlando show content. So
Nice. Can I ask you, because I still for
sure.
the life of me cannot find where to gift.
Okay, so what you have to do, and I found this out a while back. Basically, what you have to do, you have to go on YouTube. Like on your computer, you have to go on YouTube, click
Okay.
on your live stream, and obviously don't have the volume on. Click on your live stream, and then you can go down to where, let's see, because you have the chat. Well, I had the chat. Now it disappeared on me.
I
Hold
would
on.
have to do it on a separate page while we're live.
Yeah, you do. Let me see.
But I guess I can do it on my phone though, right?
Well, I tried to do it on the phone, it wouldn't work. So I think you have to do it on the computer. So, but once you pull it up, you go to the plus sign, or no, not the plus sign. You go to the little box that has the dollar sign in it, and it should give you an option at the bottom for membership gifting.
Oh, okay. That's weird how like it's not on here like while we're live. Like I can't just click it. That's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but if you guys want, it's up to you. everybody in the chat, if you guys want to ask us any questions about the trip, anything that you're excited for to hear about the shareholders meeting, let us know and we'll try to answer it for you before we start.
So Peter says they already started the live stream video.
Really? They did.
Peter, you're referring to the actual thing?
Oh, that's interesting.
Hold on, let me see.
See if we can find it.
They probably just like started up like the music and everything. I don't think they would actually. Did they actually start the meeting early?
I don't know. Let's find out, Peter. Thank you for letting us know. We're going to check on that right now.
Annual meeting, including, will be available live via what?
It's just the music.
Oh, just the music. Okay. Well, how come it's not even showing on this page? Why isn't it?
That's interesting. Okay, so the webcast.
Peter, where what thing did you go on? Are you on YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube. It's I Googled it, George, and it's on that website where we went to for the other meeting they had. And if you go to the page, it says 2026 annual meeting of the shareholders webcast. And right below it where it says add to calendar, it says webcast. And if you click on that.
Gotcha. That's where I missed it. Okay. Yeah, I had the page. Let me see if it still had the page. Does it? What is that? I think I might have to share because I think it probably clicked a different link. Yeah. Okay. So let me remove this. I'm gonna remove this.
So it is live. It's just playing like little clips.
It's just playing
and music. So, but thank you, Peter, for letting us know. I appreciate it.
Sure. There we go. Okay, now we should be good.
But anybody want to ask any questions about the trip or what we can expect from this meeting? Because it's interesting to me because literally yesterday when I got home, George, and even on the way home from the airport, I was seeing news drop about Disney like crazy. Even when we were in Orlando, I saw news drop. Like a reopening date for Thunder Mountain, a reopening date for Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
You know, all this crazy stuff. And then Drew, the Disney dude, shout out to Drew. He actually posted a video on YouTube about the new Avengers attraction. There's like a video or something that he posted. Then, like George mentioned, for D23, there was no announcement. They dropped tickets for a special preview at Burbank, where the studios are located, to preview the new Hannah Montana preview. And that wasn't, that went quick. And then, what else?
And then they also like added new titles for leadership, like in divisions.
Yes.
They added like they moved Disney games to entertainment off of experiences, which I thought was interesting, but I actually think that was a smart decision on their behalf. I'm glad games isn't part of the parks. I'm glad they have like their own division. They added new roles for something with consumer products, and everyone's just like moving all around. The Disneyland president becomes chairman of parks, and international parks moves to what, Disneyland. It's like crazy.
Well, let's talk about that, George, because we haven't actually been able to talk about that, you know, on a live while we wait. So, you know, we've seen, you know, over the years that international parks get some amazing stuff like lands, attractions, shows, entertainment, foods, all this wonderful stuff. So now the person that was in charge of all that is now going to be running the Disneyland Resort. So what, you know, what can this person that's taking over the Disneyland Resort, what could she bring to the table that's going to have some type of international influence but make it domestically fit.
I think big number one, and I think that we all can agree that a lot of times, um, um, a lot of times we all say that the international parks get a lot more love, than
We have.
we have. So I think by having someone who was in, like the shoes of the international, maybe can bring some of that flair to the domestic parks. Maybe with like a lot of the nighttime entertainment, like with the drones that's at Disneyland Paris. I feel like Disneyland Paris is like the king of like doing nighttime entertainment. Obviously, we can't get too much with Tokyo because it's run by OLC, but even like with the Asian parks with Shanghai and Hong Kong, a lot of the technology used for the attractions is much more up to date, I'll say. But I think maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that she'll see what works for Disneyland, but what we don't have, and maybe can possibly bring some things over. I think honestly that would be my top priority. If I was working in international and coming over to domestic, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I'm very curious on what we could see going forward. Now, Thomas Maslum is now the chief officer of Parks and Experiences, so Josh's old position. So I'm very curious on what he wants to do, because for a brief time of him running the Disneyland Resort, I think he's done pretty well. Maybe I haven't really looked into it too much, but
I feel like he wasn't. I mean, I do agree with you, but I feel like he wasn't like
he wasn't there long
enough to actually make some moves. But before he was president of Disneyland, he worked with the cruise line and Signature Experiences.
Yes.
So that I think counts more than just being the Disneyland president.
100%. And then what else was there since we've been in Florida? Oh, they're getting the stage ready for in Fantasyland for Bluey. That's supposed to be debuting very soon. Then on the DCA side, where me, you, and Abby will be there later today, experiencing food and wine. I can't wait. On the outside where they're building Coco, they finally cleared about 90% of the trees, bushes, and all that. So they're moving fast.
Really and I think that this is all prep and for when Josh steps in, because I feel like once he now wants everything under his watch. Everything now moving forward is going to be under his name. So he wants to make sure everything is like rearing, ready to go. So that's a good thing for us as the consumer and the shareholders.
100%, and that's something that I'm super excited about.
Or as you call us, investors.
I do call us investors. I do. The one thing that gave me a culture shock, and I told George this on the trip multiple times. I said, one of the things that I find interesting, Walt Disney World, their top tier pass, $1,700 with tax, and then we're paying $19,000 to $2,000 for our top tier pass, and we got 2 parks. They got 4 parks. Plus, we went to Disney Springs on our last day. And I will tell you this. You're hearing it first from me. Disney Springs, I can literally spend 3 days there going restaurant to restaurant, eating, drinking, enjoying life. So many shops, so many experiences. I was mind blown. Like, I mean, we think of downtown Disney as something awesome and, vibrant. No, Disney Springs is like a whole nother level of entertainment. It was crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's literally everything Disney on steroids. And let's see, we have Pika Max in. Welcome in. They say Paris hadn't got a new ride in the main parks since for 25 years. It took 8 years for opening just a lake and Frozen in the second park, and there is nothing else to do. I hope tomorrow will change that. Well, first off, welcome in, Pika Max. Great to have you in. What I do have to say about Paris is that for a long time, like Euro, when it was Euro Disney, when it first opened, there was a lot of issues with the French government. They did not want Disney there. They were appalled that a Disney park was up. They weren't a fan of it. They weren't a fan of Michael Eisner at the time. But I feel like since Disney took some of those reins back and turned it into Disneyland Paris, I feel like that they're starting to move upward. It is still going to take a little time, but as I said, I feel like Disneyland Paris knows how to do nighttime entertainment with like the drones and everything. The second park was the Walt Disney Studios park, which I agree with you needed major help. I mean, there was like, it was kind of like what DCA 1.0 was, but I feel like now that it's turned into a venture world, with now they, as you had mentioned, they added Frozen. They're revamping some of the lands that are, already there. They're getting the new Lion King, which Brandon mentioned. So I feel like in time, it'll start to flesh out where, Paris will become, as I said, it has seen a lot of like a revenue uptick over the years. So
yes, no, I 100% agree. And one of the things I will mention is, George actually laughed it off while we're at on the trip. And it was funnier than hell, actually, because Tommy's like, you guys are ballers, man. So we are currently in active development planning our next trip, which is next summer, to now go back to Walt Disney World and to experience my first ever, and I mean first ever, Disney cruise on the Treasure with the Holo Gelato crew. I cannot wait. And if you want to see like my total reaction throughout the entire trip, George has it on his channel because he made sure he wanted to capture that and have it like Oscar gold on his channel. So definitely go check that out, because it's not just my reaction, it's Tommy's reaction as well. And it was some really good stuff. Really awesome.
Absolutely. And yeah, I was so glad that I was able to be a part of both you and Tommy's first time at Walt Disney World, at Universal Orlando. I'm just as hyped, for your first time on a Disney cruise. I think once you get on it, as I've seen many people do, they get bit by the Disney cruise bug. I know you've been on cruises before, but this is going to be your first Disney one.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I could be wrong, because, to each one's own, but I feel like once you do it one time, you're going to be like, oh, I have to go again. I have to go on another ship. I have to do another, location. I have to do a longer stay. I have to do it's like when we go on ours, it'll be my 12th Disney cruise. As you can see that I just like, I can't stand them. It's going to be 12 cruises, but but I really do think you will enjoy it for sure.
Oh, by far. I can't wait. It's gonna be fantastic regardless. I'm excited for it. And then we got plans even beyond that. Can you all believe that? So it's not even just next summer. Then comes 2028, which is going to be a massive year, because
that's a big year.
A big year. And even 27 still, because think about it, 27, we're going on the trip in summer. Then at some point they're going to open Avengers Campus, the expansion part for DCA. Then in 28 we got the Olympics, and then we get to see George and Abby finally tie the knot and get married. I can't wait for that. I'm going to be part of that, and I'm so blessed to be part of that. Then 29 or 2030, we might be doing another trip. And then 2031, we're going to go down to Walt Disney World again and probably stay another 2 weeks. because it's going to be the Diamond Celebration. And then once the Lion King attraction opens in Paris, we're going to meet Peter down in Paris. And I see in the comments, he's like, I want to experience Lion King before we get banned from George.
Oh man! Yeah, honestly, I could take over Timon's spot, and I could put on the dragon do the hula.
Oh, God.
So
Oh God!
I have no shame. But yeah, absolutely. And then we have the Universal UK Park, which I'm really hoping that they add somewhere along the line. Lord of the Rings needs to come to some Universal Park at some degree.
I agree.
I mean, I would prefer that to go in Epic because I really think the Lord of the Rings franchise is an epic franchise. But yeah, but again, that's down the line. And actually, as I said, that's going to be another big year is 2031. Because as you mentioned, the Diamond Celebration for Walt Disney World, Disneyland Paris, and Universal UK. So it's like, yeah, there's just like a lot that's like, I remember I was talking to Conductor one night, and I was literally running everything down the line. And he was just like, not spazzing out, but he's like, oh my gosh, like we got all this. It's like, oh yeah, like even though that we're in 2026, like I'm planning for 2031. I get my inner Disney in. So we got 3 minutes before the Shareholder. I'm just going to do a little tester just to make sure you guys can hear it. I'm going to hit play. Can you guys hear that?
I can hear it.
Perfect. That's awesome.
You can actually mute it. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. But yeah, no. Everything, I have to say, everything that we did for the Universal side and Walt Disney World, I could not be more happy. We hit so many things. I'm not even kidding. So many things. It would make your head spin knowing how many things we did. It was crazy. It was insane. But I loved it. I did not have one disappointment besides the rain, but I knew that was coming.
And I have to say, honestly, 5 days out of the
12,
the 14, like or 13, 13,
yeah.
I wasn't really that bad. And I think a couple of them it rained for like 30 minutes and it stopped. I feel like that our biggest like rain days was Animal Kingdom.
Yes.
And probably I'd say Disney Springs.
I think Disney Springs and Magic Kingdom were tied.
Oh, I forgot about Magic Kingdom. Yeah. I would say Disney Springs and Magic Kingdom were tied. I think like our heaviest of rain was Animal Kingdom, which I said it before and I'll say it again. I don't know what it is. Every time I go to Animal Kingdom, no matter what day it is, what month, what year, it always rains. I don't know what it is.
It always does. Crazy. Oh my gosh. Totally crazy.
So we are probably less than a minute off, folks. This is it. As I said, this is history in the making. That we're going to hear. Hopefully we hear some good stuff, some interesting stuff. I'm very curious to see how Josh tackles this as far as like when asked questions, because this is going to be very telling. And we got the Rogue attraction in the house. Welcome in, Rogue. Animal Kingdom is the worst park for rain too. It is because it becomes like very muggy, especially with all like the plants and the trees and everything. And it's so big that you have to run from one spot to the other just to take cover.
Well, Rogue, I will tell you this. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever been to Animal Kingdom, Rogue, but I will tell you, because I don't know if you guys can see this behind me. I still can't figure out how to close his mouth, but I'll work on that. But, let's see. Hold on. There we go. I had to get the Banshees. So
today's presentation may include forward-looking statements that we make pursuant to the safe harbor provisions of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. These forward-looking statements, including regarding the company's future business plans, prospects, and financial performance, are not historical in nature and are based on management's assumptions regarding the future and are subject to change. Additional information concerning factors and risks that could cause results to differ from those in the forward-looking statements are set forth in the company's filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, including the company's most recent.
Wow, she's really going to read that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, So when he says he's been there, so going over the bridge.
Satisfaction in developing ideas into realities which become a part of Disney. All the films, television shows, the songs, and of course, the theme parks. And each year, there's always something new to enjoy.
This is the best day of my life.
The strength of the ancestors is here.
Yeah, it's real.
This is incredible!
Being a part of something so extraordinary just feels right.
This is the place to be.
Our story has just begun. First we were playing, and then the world started changing.
Hi there, I'm Lilypad.
We're gonna need backup.
We're really excited to update the Millennium Falcon attraction with the characters Mandalorian and Grogu.
You ready for an adventure?
Welcome to the most magical showcase on Earth.
The things that we make have lasting impact on so many people.
I'm putting together a team.
I'm in.
Woo! You got me so excited.
This is beautiful.
Showtime! We're building something that we haven't done before. You actually get to live these iconic moments.
We put this into this.
Yes, yes. This into this. This into this. This into this.
This into this.
Whoa, you guys, this is like Avatar.
This is nothing like Avatar.
There's magic in the arrows.
Coming in hot.
Let's go!
Caught for the touchdown.
This is the most special moment of my life.
It's about seeing where you're going in your mind. Knowing where you are from knowing where you've been.
Because you never know where you might be headed next.
Please welcome Chairman of the Board, the Walt Disney Company, James Gorman.
I call this meeting to order, and the polls are now open. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Walt Disney Company's annual meeting of shareholders. Disney's Chief Legal and Global Affairs Officer, Horacio Gutierrez, is designated to conduct the business portion of our meeting. On behalf of your board of directors, I want to express our appreciation for your participation today and for your investment in this company. Your support enables Disney to continue delivering exceptional creativity and entertainment to audiences worldwide. I'd also like to acknowledge our other independent directors, Mary Barra, Amy Chang, Jeremy Durock, Carolyn Everson, Michael Froman, Mel Lagomasino, Calvin McDonald, and Derek Rice, as well as director nominee Jeff Williams. It's a privilege to serve with a board that has such impressive collective expertise. Their insight and experience support our shared goal that Disney continues to deliver that outstanding creativity and innovation that connects with people around the world. Today marks the beginning of an exciting new chapter for the Walt Disney Company, and we are thrilled for Josh D'Amaro as he assumes his new responsibilities as Chief Executive Officer. The board is so enthusiastic about the leadership Josh will bring to this role and the future he will help shape. He understands this company at its core and is exceptionally well positioned to lead it in this next chapter of creative excellence and innovation. I want to acknowledge Disney's exceptional management team, including the company's first ever President and Chief Creative Officer, Dana Walden, as well as the many dedicated employees and cast members around the world. Finally, on behalf of the entire board, I want to express our deep gratitude to Bob Iger for his many years of extraordinary service as CEO. During his tenure, Bob has led the company to unprecedented creative and business success, and he has brilliantly prepared Disney for this moment. On a personal note, I just want to thank Bob for being such a tremendous partner over the last 2 years and an inspiring leader of the Walt Disney Company. Thank you again for joining us, and please enjoy the meeting.
Storytelling is what drives this company. It's not about how much we create. It's about creating things that are great.
Robert Iger has been named CEO of the Walt Disney Company.
Looking back, it's an odyssey of sorts.
Disney has purchased Pixar.
We think we got something pretty good going here.
The places I've been.
A deal announced today that merges Mickey Mouse with Marvel Entertainment.
Excelsior! And the things I've seen.
Star Wars is now officially part of Disney.
It was a perfect match of what our two companies are.
The things I've been able to do.
Breaking news, the blockbuster Disney deal buying 21st Century Fox.
Let's go.
Disney shatters the annual box office record.
$7 billion movies in 2019 alone.
Disney's new streaming service makes its debut today.
One day at a time.
Welcome to the new California adventure. Galaxy's Edge is now open.
One job at a time.
It's opening day for Shanghai Disneyland.
It just happened so fast. I guess the rest is history.
Come on!
Punch it!
I think that success magnifies who you are.
Bob Iger, he was honored last night by the Ad Council, receiving the organization's award for public service.
It's not about business, it's about being good citizens of the world.
To care as much as he does and to have as big a heart as he does, people's lives are improving because of the choices that he makes.
A core tenet of ours is to create change, and not just to sit back and watch it happen. It takes patience and a lot of talent. And borrowing from one of Walt's greatest strengths, it takes courage. And today, we have plenty of it.
What is the thing that when you are in your quietest moment, you are most grateful for?
What I've come to realize and appreciate just what a privilege it is to work in this business for this company. Good evening, I'm Bob Iger. If I were to learn one lesson, the lesson would be enjoy what you do, love what you do, because you won't do it well unless you do.
Where do you go from here?
To Disneyland. As I mark my last day as CEO of our wonderful company, I want to thank all of you for making these last 3 years so productive and gratifying. It's also the end of a 52-year journey that began in 1974 and has spanned almost 3/4 of my life. I never dreamed I would end up as CEO of the Walt Disney Company, and I certainly never expected to step into the role a second time. But once I did, I was quickly reminded of the tremendous responsibility that being entrusted with something very special bears. What I couldn't have fully known then was just how meaningful this journey would become because of the people, the creativity, and the shared belief in what this company stands for and what we have all accomplished, particularly during this second time around. Now, over the years, we experienced extraordinary change and faced real challenges. That was particularly profound in the last 3 years. It was daunting at times, but through it all, what sustained me was the passion I saw every day from great storytellers, innovators, leaders, and people around the world who care so deeply about what they do and want to just get it right. That commitment, resilience, passion, and heart were what make this company what it is. I've always believed that leaders don't create the magic, the people who work for and with the leaders do. And my greatest privilege has been supporting that talent, listening, learning, and doing everything that I could to nurture the creative spirit and protect the values that define this place. When I returned in 2022, people had lost confidence in the company they worked for. Today, everywhere I turn, I sense confidence and excitement about what lies ahead. So as I step away, I do so with enormous gratitude and real optimism. I believe deeply in this company's future because I believe in Josh D'Amaro and the people who will help him shape it next. Josh is a wonderful choice to lead the Walt Disney Company. He has passion for our businesses and brands, respect for our people, and he appreciates what makes this company so unique. And Dana Walden will play a vital role focusing on our most critical endeavor, creativity. I will be cheering on Josh, Dana, and all of you as I sail off into the sunset. So thank you for the trust you placed in me, for the memories we created together, and for allowing me the honor of serving. It has meant more to me than I can say. The stories and experiences Disney will bring to the world will continue to inspire, entertain, and connect generations, just as they always have. Thank you.
Please welcome Chief Executive Officer of the Walt Disney Company, Josh D'Amaro.
Bob, on behalf of our employees, cast members, shareholders, and fans around the world, thank you so much for your tremendous leadership, your steadfast support, and your countless contributions to the Walt Disney Company. You set an incredible example for all of us. And personally, I can't thank you enough for your mentorship and friendship through the years. You will be missed. Like so many of you, my connection to Disney goes back to my childhood, long before I began my career here. I grew up in a Disney family. We watched The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights. I was 10 years old when my family visited Disneyland for the first time. So as I stand next to the old animation building where Walt and his team brought so many of our beloved stories and characters to life, I'm deeply honored and profoundly grateful for the opportunity to lead this remarkable company. Disney has always been a place of imagination, innovation, and infinite potential, bringing human creativity together with cutting-edge technology to create unforgettable storytelling experiences. And very early on, Walt was thinking beyond the screen, from movies, music, and television, to merchandise, publishing, and theme parks. That vision has grown to encompass sports, news, games, streaming, cruise ships, hotels, and so much more. All of our businesses reinforce and amplify one another. At the center of the Walt Disney Company is an extraordinary connection we have with our fans, a relationship built over generations through the stories and characters that people carry with them throughout their lives. There's nothing quite like it. And all these years later, that connection has never been more relevant or more powerful than it is today. It remains our greatest competitive advantage. No one else has the ability to do this at the scale, quality, and global reach that Disney can. Simply put, while others in our industry are consolidating just to compete, are struggling to be relevant in a fragmented and disrupted world, Disney's in a category of one, poised to accelerate into our next era of innovation and growth. And this next chapter will be driven by staying focused on world-class creativity, enhanced by technology, bringing unforgettable stories to audiences wherever they are. While we're in a league of our own, that doesn't mean things have always been easy, especially with the pace of change that we're all facing today. When Bob returned to the company a few years ago, his goal was to fortify our business and lay the groundwork for long-term growth by reigniting creativity and improving performance at our studios, building a robust and profitable streaming business, transforming ESPN for a digital future, and turbocharging our parks and experiences. We've accomplished all of those things, and we're operating from a place of strength with ample opportunity for growth. In 2025, we released the top 3 Hollywood films of the year, including Zootopia 2, which became Hollywood's highest-grossing animated film of all time, with $1.9 billion at the global box office, making it the 8th highest-grossing Hollywood film in history. These successes drove our studio to #1 at the box office for the 9th time in the last decade. We've also built a successful and growing entertainment streaming business that reaches millions of fans all over the world. And we have the most engaged sports fans at ESPN as we continue to deliver compelling programming, including our #1 and #8 most watched events ever on consecutive days earlier this year. And last year, our experiences business delivered operating income of $10 billion, the highest in its history. Demand remains extremely high at our parks and cruise ships, and consumer products continues to be a powerhouse with $62 billion in retail sales. And just for a little perspective here, in the last few months, we welcomed our 900 millionth guest at both Disneyland Park in Anaheim and Tokyo Disney Resort. While it took many years to achieve these milestones, today, when you consider all the ways that people interact with Disney through all of our platforms on a daily basis, the power of those connections is astonishing. Looking at our hand, it's an extraordinary one. Take all of this together, and Disney has never been more accessible to more people in more places than we are today. And as we look ahead, we will capitalize on our strengths by focusing on coming together as one Disney to deliver a more connected, personalized, and immersive experience to our consumers, wherever they are and whenever they would like to engage with us. The heart of that relationship is, and it will always be, our storytelling. And there's no better example than Toy Story. 30 years ago, Pixar changed moviegoing forever with the first CG animated feature. Today, to infinity and beyond, it's more than a catchphrase. It's an instant association, no matter where you are in the world. These characters now live everywhere our audiences do, in homes across the globe through Disney Plus and consumer products, in our hotels, in every one of our theme parks and cruise ships. And we're expanding that world with a brand new story that is just as exciting, fun, and relevant as the films that came before it, when Toy Story 5 hits theaters in June. I saw the latest cut recently, and it's fantastic. And I'm excited to show you a sneak peek.
Now, I'm going to have some words with this lily pad and let her know how things are run around here.
Try to stay calm, Jesse.
Buzz, you know me. I'm the definition of calm.
That's not going to work.
Hi!
What the?
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Sleep mode, you know? No? Forget it. I was just gonna hop on the charger. Battery could use a little refresh.
I want to talk to you, device.
Please, call me Lily.
Now look here. Me and the toys have been working all summer to try and get Bonnie to make friends with the Jordan twins across the street.
Yeah.
But then you had to ruin it with all your stupid... You're not even listening to me.
Oh, no, I was listening. I'm always listening. See? Now look here. Me and the toys have been working all summer to try to get Bonnie to make friends with the Jordan twins. Now in Spanish. Conocemos los Jordan. Al otro lado de la calle, pero luego tuviste que arruinar. How's it rap? Me and the toys been working all summer trying to get Bonnie to make friends.
First dance, honey.
Oh, this concerns me ethically.
Toy Story 5 is part of an incredible theatrical slate of films that includes the just-released original animated film Hoppers, which is critically acclaimed and off to a terrific start, as well as The Devil Wears Prada 2, The Mandalorian, and Grogu, our live-action Moana, all coming this summer, and Avengers Doomsday in December. Plus, an incredible 2027 lineup with Star Wars Starfighter, Frozen 3, a Bluey feature, and a new Ice Age film, and so much more. And I'm excited to share updates on 2 of our highly anticipated films in development. Our sequel to last year's Lilo & Stitch will debut on May 26, 2028, and Incredibles 3 will hit screens just a few weeks later on June 16, 2028. We also have a wide array of world-class series from across Disney Entertainment. Shows like Only Murders in the Building, The Bear, High Potential, Alien Earth, Grey's Anatomy, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Dancing with the Stars, Paradise, Daredevil Born Again, and the hugely popular Love Story. We also have 3 of the top preschool series led by Bluey, the most streamed show in the US. The Simpsons just celebrated its 800th episode, and we're especially excited about our new Simpsons film coming to theaters next year. We're also well underway on the next season of Shogun, which won a record-breaking 18 Emmy Awards for its historic first season. And I'm pleased to share some exclusive behind-the-scenes footage from season 2.
I'm Hiroyuki Sanada. I'm honored to share that production has begun on season 2 of FX's Shogun. This new season grows in every direction. Story, scale, emotion. What we are creating is something you've never seen before. We are so excited to continue this epic saga and to welcome audiences back into the world of Shogun next year. Thank you so much. Rolling!
These stories power our streaming business, which provides direct and continuous engagement with our consumers. Disney Plus will continue to evolve beyond a traditional streaming service to become the digital centerpiece of our company. A portal that connects our stories, experiences, games, films, and more in entirely new ways. And we're working to quickly bring Disney Plus and Hulu into a unified experience later this year that will drive even more value for subscribers and for our business. We also have a huge opportunity to grow internationally. We've been investing smartly and strategically to build this business, and in a little over a year, we've released 7 of our most viewed international originals ever, including the international Emmy-winning Rivals and breakout hit Battle of Fates. When you add ESPN to the mix, it becomes a grand slam for consumers. ESPN is an indispensable daily touch point for millions of sports fans, myself included. In fact, in an average month, we reach around 80% of adults in the US. Our sports portfolio is unmatched, and we continue to add key events and partners, including our recent collaborations with the NFL and MLB. And we'll reach new heights next year when ESPN broadcasts the Super Bowl for the very first time, something we'll be bringing the full force of the Walt Disney Company to in a way that only we can. The power of Disney comes full circle at Disney Experiences. There's a reason this business is such a strong and consistent driver for the company. Built on our unparalleled storytelling and decades of creative innovation and operational excellence, Disney has continually raised the bar for what experiences can be, and it's always evolving. All around the world, we're building new adventures and expanding capacity to welcome more families into our uniquely Disney experiences. Driven by the largest capital investment plan in Disney Experiences history, it's already bringing new lands to our parks and new parks to our world. Later this month, we'll unveil a new Frozen land in Paris. We're doubling the size of Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure, building a Villains Land at Magic Kingdom, and planning our first new park in a decade in a brand new corner of the world. And we continue to expand our award-winning Disney Cruise Line fleet. I was just in Singapore for the launch of the Disney Adventure, which is our very first ship based in Asia. It is stunning, and I'm so excited for our guests to experience it. We have 5 more ships on the way, and today I'm excited to announce the name of our 9th ship, the Disney Believe. Underpinning all of this is technology. We've never shied away from the latest innovations, and in many cases, we're the ones pushing the envelope because we know technology acts as an amplifier for our stories, our experiences, and the emotional connection audiences have with our brand. That's why we've partnered with Epic Games to bring a transformative new entertainment experience to Fortnite and connect it to our broader ecosystem. I just reviewed some of the progress on the worlds that we're building, and I was blown away by the possibilities. We'll continue to develop and embrace new technologies to empower our storytellers, but never at the expense of our characters and worlds, our creative partners, or the trust people place in us. Because Disney, at its core, is a company that celebrates human creativity. There's a door on Main Street in Disneyland. It's on your right as you're walking toward the castle. The door is labeled Casting Agency. And the quote on the door is from Walt. It says, "It takes people to make the dream a reality." This couldn't be more true for a company like ours. We have the most creative, most passionate, dedicated people, and it's because of our people that we'll continue to create stories and experiences that our fans carry with them for a lifetime. One of the most profound ways we see this coming to life is through our ongoing work with children's hospitals, veterans and military families, and the various community organizations we have the honor to engage with. We're especially proud of our work with Make-A-Wish. Disney is the largest wish granter in the world, granting a wish every hour of every single day. Our stories bring joy and hope and inspiration to millions around the world, and that's a privilege that we take very seriously. That's why we'll continue to come together as one team, building on the strengths I've highlighted today to carry Disney's enduring legacy forward and write the next chapter of this incredible story. As I officially step into this role with an incredible team at my side, I'm truly excited about the road ahead, and I have absolute confidence in our ability to deliver high-quality, experiential storytelling that stands head and shoulders above the rest. I want to thank Bob Iger once more. He set a standard for creativity, integrity, and ambition that will continue to guide all of us. We are deeply grateful for everything that he's done. And of course, my thanks go out to all of our fans around the world. As some of you may know, I love talking to guests and fans and hearing all of your stories. Whether you love our movies, shows, parks, ships, games, books, music, the list goes on and on. You are the reason that we do what we do. And to our shareholders, on behalf of everyone at Disney, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your continued belief and investment in this one-of-a-kind company.
Please welcome Senior Executive Vice President, Chief Legal and Global Affairs Officer of the Walt Disney Company, Horacio Gutierrez.
Today's meeting is being conducted in conformity with the laws of Delaware and the company's charter and bylaws. Today is March 18, 2026, and James Gorman opened the polls on all matters at 10:03 a.m. Pacific time. If you have already voted by proxy, you don't need to vote again now. For those in attendance on the virtual meeting website, if you haven't voted, or if you want to change your vote, you may do that during this meeting by clicking Vote Here on the virtual meeting website and following the instructions there. Please note that you must submit any vote by ballot before the polls close at today's meeting in order for your vote to be counted. The rules of conduct for the meeting have been posted on the virtual meeting website, and I would ask that everyone please respect the rules. The notice of this meeting was distributed to shareholders of record as of the record date. We note that a shareholder proposal included as Proposal 5 in our notice has since been withdrawn by the proponent and therefore will not be presented or voted on at this meeting, nor will any votes cast on the proposal be tabulated or reported. As a result, we have 6 items on the agenda today, including 3 shareholder proposals. I will introduce each of the first 3 items, and shareholder representatives will present each of the shareholder proposals. Then the polls will close, and we will hear a preliminary report from the Inspector of Election and adjourn the business portion of the meeting. The Inspector of Election, Jason Graham of First Coast Results, Inc., has signed an oath of Inspector of Election and is present today at this meeting. I would now like to ask Mr. Graham to report on the number of outstanding shares entitled to vote that are present today in person or by proxy.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. As of the close of business on January 20th, 2026, the record date for this meeting, there were 1,773,386,947 shares of common stock outstanding, each of which is entitled to 1 vote. There are at least 904,427,343 shares of common stock represented by proxy at this meeting, which represents at least 51% of the total number of shares entitled to vote.
Thank you. Based on this report, I declare that a quorum is present and that this meeting is qualified to proceed. The first item, Proposal 1 in the proxy statement, is the election of 11 director nominees. Each director holds office for a term of 1 year. The company has nominated the following 11 director nominees for election at this meeting: Mary Barra, Amy Chang, Jeremy DeRock, Carolyn Everson, Michael Froman, James Gorman, Bob Iger, Mel Lagomasino, Calvin McDonald, Derica Rice, and Jeff Williams. All of the company's nominees have been duly nominated. The board recommends a vote for the election of the 11 director nominees. The next item, Proposal 2 in the proxy statement, is ratification of the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP as the company's independent registered public accountants for the current fiscal year, as recommended by the Audit Committee of the Board of Directors. Bob Swartz and Wilson Matheson, representatives of PricewaterhouseCoopers, are here today to respond to any questions. The board recommends a vote for the ratification of the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as the company's independent registered public accountants for fiscal 2026. The next item, Proposal 3 in the proxy statement, is the advisory vote on executive compensation. We are seeking advisory shareholder approval for the compensation of our named executive officers, and the board recommends a vote for this proposal. The next item, Proposal 4 in the proxy statement, is a shareholder proposal by Dana Tuggle. The full text of the proposal is set forth in the proxy statement. Dana Tuggle will now present the proposal. Operator, please proceed with the statement by Dana Tuggle at this time.
Hello, my name is Dana Tuggle, and I'm here to present Proposal 4. I'm a longtime Disney shareholder and have visited the parks for years with family and friends. I love this company, and I want to see it focus on creating great experiences for future generations of kids. Not let policies get pulled off course by politics. That's why I brought this proposal. Disney's gift match policies should be politically and socially neutral. They shouldn't recommend or restrict charities based on their religion or viewpoint. We want to know, for example, whether Disney favors groups such as the Human Rights Campaign, but subjects conservative organizations like Turning Point USA and Family Research Council to extra scrutiny to be eligible for charitable matching. Instead of answering, the companies closed the doors of the Magic Castle. They told us that their employee match program has terms and conditions and other things with no further details. Sorry, but that's just not enough. I love Disney and the many happy moments it's provided me and my family and friends for decades. The way it's dodging questions on this issue isn't in keeping with that. Let's get Disney away from biased corporate policies and back to creating more of those happy moments. Choosing political neutrality is how to do that. Thank you so much for your time.
The Board of Directors has recommended a vote against this proposal for the reasons set out in the proxy statement. The next item, Proposal 6 in the proxy statement, is a shareholder proposal by the National League and Policy Center. The full text of the proposal is set forth in the proxy statement. Luke Perlot will now present the proposal. Operator, please proceed with the statement by Luke Perlot at this time.
Good morning. I urge shareholders to vote for Proposal 6, which asks Disney's board to adopt cumulative voting for director elections. Disney's board says that this would allow special interests to override the broader goals of the company. But Disney has already shown what the current winner-take-all system produces. In 2024, Nelson Peltz received about 31% of votes cast for a board seat, yet shareholders elected Disney's full slate of 12 directors anyway. That's 31% of shares, a 31% economic stake, but 0 board seats. If cumulative voting had been in place back then, those shareholders could have concentrated their shares and very likely earned a seat at the table. Disney also complains that cumulative voting could undermine a cohesive board, and that's the point. Under today's rules, a simple majority can effectively elect 100% of the board, and even a large minority can be dismissed as just noise, unless they can fund an expensive proxy fight. Even then, their success is almost impossible. So is that cohesion, or is that managerial capture? Cumulative voting lets owners concentrate votes so that a meaningful minority can translate economic ownership into real boardroom representation. Corporate governance should be designed for the real world. The board should represent the will of all its shareholders, not just a simple majority. Cumulative voting is a modest structural check that solves the problem of managerial capture that has persisted at Disney in recent years. For these reasons, I urge shareholders to vote for Proposal 6. Thank you.
The Board of Directors has recommended a vote against this proposal for the reasons set out in the proxy statement. The next item, Proposal 7 in the proxy statement, is a shareholder proposal by Eric G. Paul. The full text of the proposal is set forth in the proxy statement. Eric Paul will now present the proposal. Operator, please proceed with the statement by Eric Paul at this time.
Good morning. Walt Disney opened Disneyland in 1955 with a simple but radical promise. To all who come to this happy place, welcome. That promise built one of the most trusted brands in the world. For more than a century, Disney's stories have shaped culture because they reflect a core value of this company: inclusion. As Bob Iger himself said, one reason Disney's storytelling has such a meaningful and positive impact is because it embraces inclusion, acceptance, and tolerance. The disability community is one of the fastest growing demographics in the world. These are not fringe guests. They are families planning multi-generational vacations, loyal customers who invest extraordinary time, coordination, and resources to make a Disney trip possible. Accessibility for disabled guests is not charity. It is not politics. It is smart market positioning, responsible brand stewardship, and sound risk management. And right now, there are warning signs. A recent study found that 85% of disabled Disney guests surveyed said they are unlikely to return because of recent accessibility changes. That is not noise. That is a strategic signal. We are already seeing tightening consumer spending, raising competition for travelers, and leadership acknowledging lower park volumes tied to attendance, as well as a class action lawsuit. At a moment like this, we can't afford to erode one of Disney's most powerful brand promises, that everyone belongs and is welcome. An independent review of accessibility practices is not an admission of failure, it is leadership. It shows shareholders that the board takes risk management, brand strength, and guest loyalty seriously. Disney magic is not only created in films, it is created in how people feel when they walk through the gates. Protecting that magic means protecting the people who believe in it. I urge you to support this proposal. Thank you.
The Board of Directors has recommended a vote against this proposal for the reasons set out in the proxy statement. If you're voting today, you must submit your votes at this time in order for your votes to be counted by the Inspector of Elections. The Inspector of Election will not consider ballots, proxies, or votes, or any changes or revocations thereof submitted after the closing of the polls. We will pause to give everyone a final chance to vote. It is now 10:40 a.m. Pacific time, and the polls for each matter to be voted on at this meeting are now closed. I would ask the Inspector of Election to give us his report based on proxies received by the opening of the polls at today's meeting. Inspector, may we have your preliminary report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. For item 1, the election of the directors, we have received proxies voting for each director representing at least 93% of the votes cast. For item 2, ratification of the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers, we have received proxies for approximately 93% of shares voting to approve the appointment. For item 3, relating to executive compensation, we have received proxies for approximately 85% of shares voting to approve the resolution. For item 4, relating to a report on how the employee gift matching program may impact risk related to religious discrimination against employees, we have received proxies for approximately 1% of shares voting to approve the proposal. For item 6, relating to the adoption of cumulative voting for board elections, we have received proxies for approximately 3% of shares voting to approve the proposal. For item 7, relating to an independent review and report on accessibility and disability inclusion practices, we have received proxies for approximately 5% of shares voting to approve the proposal. That concludes my report, Mr. Gutierrez.
Thank you. Based on that report and subject to the counting of ballots presented at the meeting and final confirmation of voting results by the Inspector of Election, I declare that all the nominees for election for the board have been duly elected, that proposals 2 and 3 have been approved, and that proposals 4, 6, and 7 are not approved. The final vote results will be included in the Form 8K that will be filed within 4 business days after this meeting. That concludes the business portion of the meeting.
We'll now begin the question and answer portion of our meeting. Would you consider changing the Pixar short movies in the Journey to Imagination Pavilion in Epcot? The same movies have been playing there for many years.
Oh, that's a great way to start this off. It's a really good question. Listen, first, I am a huge fan of the Pixar shorts. I think it's pretty incredible how the talented folks at Pixar are so good at conveying powerful stories and emotion, and they do it in such a short amount of time. One of my favorites is Bao. I don't know if you've all had a chance to see it, but if not, I'd recommend going to check that one out. Like I said, it's a great question. It's an interesting idea, but right now we don't have any plans to bring new shorts to Journey of Imagination. But again, good question. So let's move to the next one.
Disney's parks and experiences clearly benefit from strong IP. How are the company's creative teams balancing their focus on creating new franchises versus sequels? What changes, if any, are being made to the creative process to encourage more breakout success from new IP?
Okay, that's another great question. I'm sure that some have heard me say this before. You know, I think our creative teams are absolutely best in class, and they're always thinking about ways to extend stories that our fans have these deep connections with. Stories like Toy Story or Moana, Inside Out. And at the same time, these teams, they're constantly developing original ideas that they have the potential to become the next beloved, possibly the next enduring Disney franchise. And I think they do a really nice job of balancing these two things. It's interesting. Hoppers is actually a great example of this. That film is doing really well right now. In fact, 2 weeks ago, when the film opened, it opened at #1. It is the biggest global debut for an original animated film since Coco, and that was back in 2017. And the film's, it's also been widely praised by critics and audiences. But you know, what really differentiates Disney is what happens after a great story's created. And this is when our stories start to move across the entire company. Everything that we create, that could be a film, a series, an experience at one of our parks, could be a game, could be a consumer product. Each of these are amplified and reinforced across the whole Disney network. It's pretty unique. It's pretty powerful, actually. So, for example, a story, when it's brand new or an extension of an existing franchise, it might begin as a film or a series, but it could also become an experience in our parks. It could become a game. It could be a product that families decide to bring into their homes. But essentially, the stories, all of them, they'll seamlessly move across our platforms. And if you think about how fandom and the consumer experience landscape is shifting, audiences have more choices than they ever have before, and they expect that their favorite brands and stories will travel with them wherever they decide to spend their time. And I think this is what Disney does better than anyone else. We have the strongest collection of stories and franchises anywhere, and we have so many compelling ways for audiences to engage with them. And one thing for sure, you'll see us continue to evolve in this way: more stories, existing ones and new ones, and more places where fans spend their time. I think it's really exciting. So a great question. Thanks for asking that one. Let's move to the next one.
Where can I find information on the professional backgrounds of current board members?
Well, thanks for the question. First, we're really proud of our board. All of their professional backgrounds and other pertinent information about our directors, that can all be found on our proxy statement. You can also find it on our company website. And another note here, our board is committed to refreshment, and we have a thoughtful process that we use to identify the best director candidates that we think would be additive to the board. You can see this commitment in the fact that if you go back to 2021, since then, we've had 6 new non-management directors join the board. And the average tenure of independent directors, it's around 5 years. And most recently, the board nominated Jeff Williams, and we think that he'll bring a deep leadership perspective in a number of areas that are aligned with our strategy. So good question. Let's move to the next one.
The Walt Disney Company is the result of Walt Disney's ideas, creativity, struggles, and pursuit of newness and imagination. How are you considering his legacy and ideals and incorporating his principles into the company's future?
This is a good one, and this is actually something that's really important to me. Walt, he created this company around a very simple, but I think a really powerful idea that great storytelling and creativity, they can actually bring people together and create experiences that stay with them for their whole life. And I love it. I love that idea and that philosophy. It still guides us in everything that we do at the company today. And when I think back about Walt's legacy, and I do this a lot, actually, I think about Walt's legacy a lot. I think less about preserving something from the past and more about carrying forward the innovative spirit that defined him. And quite frankly, it's defined the company now for more than 100 years. Walt, he was incredibly optimistic about the future. He embraced new technology. He took a lot of creative risks. He was always pushing his team to imagine what was possible rather than just what was comfortable. And that mindset, it's still very much part of our culture today. And you can see it across the entire Walt Disney Company. You see it everywhere, whether it's a filmmaker or Imagineers, in our game development or our teams that are building new digital experiences. We're continuing to bring together human creativity and new technology to tell stories for fans in ways that Walt could probably only imagine at the time. And I know that he would be proud of today. Of course, as we continue to innovate, I and the whole team around me, we feel that tremendous responsibility to never compromise on what makes Disney so special. Our brand is one that's always stood for quality, it stood for creativity and storytelling that can endure right across generations. And as we look ahead, the goal is to make sure that we're honoring that legacy while continuing to evolve, just as Walt himself always did. So yeah, I think it's a great question. Again, something that's important to me. Thanks for asking. We'll move on to the next question now.
How is Disney leveraging artificial intelligence to strengthen its position within the industry?
Okay, well, it's probably not a complete discussion these days if we don't talk about AI at least a little bit. So technologies, it's always played an important role in Disney's history. We've been at the forefront of innovation for more than 100 years now, and this is a company of creators, of innovators, and of course we understand that our willingness and passion in terms of embracing new technologies, it's been completely key to our success. And when you look across our company today, we're using AI and machine learning in a variety of ways across the company. And we're doing this to enable creators and creativity, to develop and improve products and experiences, and to drive business productivity and efficiency in everything that we do. And we've been doing this for some time. But of course, not surprisingly, we're approaching this very thoughtfully. At Disney, creativity is always led by people. That will always be the case. Our goal with AI is to empower human creativity and not replace it. We want to give artists and filmmakers and designers better tools so that they can focus on what they do best. It's a really important question. I'm glad you asked it. So thank you for that. Now we can move on to the next question.
How does Disney Experiences balance revenue growth from ticket pricing and attendance with maintaining positive guest satisfaction?
Thanks. That is an important question. I guess I'd start with the fact that I know that a Disney park visit, it's a meaningful investment for families that visit us. And our goal is for every single guest to feel that their experience is worth it. Basically, we want this experience to be the best day of a guest's life. And we're always measuring our success here. So for example, we look at things like guest experience ratings and a guest's intent to return after they've visited us. And these metrics are both very high across all of our parks. When it comes to how we think about pricing, what we try to do is focus on offering a wide range of options and different price points so that families can visit in ways that work for them, whether that's during a value season or maybe taking advantage of multi-day ticket savings, or even taking advantage of special offers that we introduce from time to time. In fact, we have one of those special offers available right now at Disneyland. It's a kids ticket offer, and with this offer, kids can visit Disneyland for $50 a day, which is pretty good. And we also have a kids free dining promotion with some packages at Walt Disney World. So what we try to do is provide a fair amount of choice and flexibility for our guests, while at the same time making sure that we're managing daily attendance and overall experience. So again, a really good and important question. I appreciate you asking that one. So now we can move on to the next question.
What guides the company's capital allocation decisions around growth versus maintenance investments, dividends, share buybacks, and M&A?
Thanks for the question. Well, we've managed our capital allocation approach pretty consistently over the years. In here, we're always looking to invest across our businesses to make sure that we're advancing our strategy and driving solid returns on investment, and ultimately driving shareholder returns as all these investments come to life. Actually, the segment that I have been running, Disney Experiences, it's a great example. This business has been generating great returns on investment over the last decade, and we know that as we continue to build great, innovative new experiences, the returns will follow, and that's why you see us continuing to invest in this segment. Now, when we get growth in earnings and cash flow over time, this allows us to reinvest in our business and drive future growth while also increasing our returns to shareholders through things like share repurchases and dividends. Of course, we're always managing our balance sheet. We want to make sure that we maintain appropriate leverage levels to give us financial flexibility. And we've done this really well, and you can see that in our single A rating. And we don't think it's necessary to build up excess cash on our balance sheet or reduce leverage from the current levels that we're at. So when we take this overall approach, it then drives our thinking around the level of share repurchase that we might make in a given year. And this informed our fiscal 26 guide to buy back $7 billion of shares this year. And this is double the amount that we repurchased in fiscal 25. Finally, I'll touch on M&A here. We believe that we're really well positioned and that we have a great hand. If you look across the broader industry, we're well ahead of the curve. And this is because the acquisitions that we've made related to Fox assets, and before that, it was Lucasfilm and Marvel, and of course, Pixar. And then we're going to continue to create our own IP. And of course, we've got an unbelievable bedrock of stories to grow from. So while we're always looking at the landscape and assessing opportunities, we feel really good about where we stand right now. So thanks for the question, and we can move on to the next one now.
Would Disney consider restructuring the Disability Access Service program to ensure it benefits everyone who needs it?
Okay, I'll address that question. And I'll start with the fact that we know that accessibility is deeply personal. And for many families, our services for guests with disabilities, they make it possible to enjoy our parks together. And creating a welcoming and inclusive environment for all guests, especially those with disabilities, it's foundational to who we are. The current approach that we have with our disability access service, it reflects really extensive work that we've done with accessibility experts and medical professionals, all in an effort to better understand individual needs and then really thoughtfully match guests with the right levels of support. It's important to us that we have individual conversations with families and that we have a broad range of accommodations that our cast members can recommend through these individual conversations. Now, of course, as we look ahead, as we always do, we'll continue to listen, we'll learn and apply expert guidance as we evaluate these accommodations over time, and we'll always be focused on providing great experiences and designing these services to support our guests. Thanks for asking the question. Let's go to the next one now.
Disney has a vast library of classic content to mine. While each title may not individually generate blockbuster revenue, the cumulative effect could be beneficial. Is there room for growth in the distribution of the company's portfolio of legacy content? Or how do you determine which titles show up on Disney Plus and which don't?
Okay, good question. Yeah, there's no doubt that we have an incredibly strong and deep library. There's no other company that has what we have. It's actually pretty amazing. So Disney Plus, it's becoming the digital centerpiece of our company, a place where audiences can connect with our stories or connect with our characters, even our experiences. And we're going to keep pushing here, always looking at how to best bring those stories and audiences in ways that match how they want to interact with our storytelling today, and to give them the stories that they're all most excited about. I think the key point here is that Disney Plus benefits from our incredibly rich library, and we're always enhancing our capabilities to recommend the right content to the right user, and of course showcasing that content in ways that keep subscribers and fans engaged, really doing this across generations and across the world. Great question. Let's move on to the next question.
How can I get a confirmation showing I voted for all my shares?
Oh, that's actually a good one. I had just actually asked this same question recently. So here's what you do. If you want to get confirmation of your voting record, well, there are a few ways you can do it. You could go to the proxy vote website, and there's a control number that you have on your notice or your proxy card form. You can use that control number and you can see your voting information. Now, as I understand it, if you hold your shares through a bank or a brokerage account, you're going to want to check with your contact there to get any specific directions that they might have. But given that I've asked the question before, it's a good one and I understand it. So thanks for asking. Let's move on to the next question now.
A stock split hasn't happened for years at Disney. Would the company ever consider one?
Thanks for the question. Right now, we are not currently contemplating a stock split. We think that Disney stock is very accessible right now for both investors and employees, and also the stock's got a good trading volume and market liquidity. But appreciate the question. Let's move on to the next one, please.
Why are Disney World's and Disneyland's Lightning Lane reservations so different? Disney World allows us to reserve at 7 a.m., regardless if we're in the park. Why isn't that offered at Disneyland?
Okay, good question. We have a fair amount of guests who visit both parks, so it's not surprising that this question would come up. Walt Disney World and Disneyland, they're obviously both incredible destinations, but they do operate in really different ways. And our Lightning Lane systems they're designed to reflect how guests experience each of those resorts. So for example, at Walt Disney World, our guests typically plan farther in advance. They have more theme parks to choose from. And over at Disneyland, that resort is contained within a more compact footprint. It has 2 theme parks. They're located side by side. And there's a lot of dynamic day of flow between attractions and the parks. Now, for guests who choose to use Lightning Lane, our objective is the same regardless of which resort you're visiting. We want to offer a convenient and an optional way to reduce time spent waiting in line and add flexibility to the day in a way that fits how each resort actually operates. And like everything, we're always evaluating guest feedback. We're looking at how guests use these products. We look at operational performance, all this to make sure that we're giving our guests the best experience that we possibly can. So a good question. We have time for one last question. So let's go forward with that last question.
Would Disney consider creating a unique film for Figment, or do you have any plans to bring more Figment to your parks or content?
Well, there it is. I've obviously listened to these shareholder meetings for a long time, and I know that there is always a Figment question that comes up. And I got to say that I love that, and I love the fact that there is so much adoration for Figment. He has stood the test of time as a fan favorite, and he clearly continues to spark creativity and imagination across generations. And I think that's really cool. Well, given that this question is coming up, I am sure that some of our fans may have seen that Figment recently made a special appearance in the How Not to Draw Short. Neil Patrick Harris narrates this. It's really fun, and it celebrates Figment and his connection to imagination. Now, I don't have anything new to announce at this time, but I can assure you that we're always exploring new ways for guests to engage with Figment and other of our characters that fans love so much. That's a really great way to end the questions today. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you for joining us. That concludes our annual meeting. You may now disconnect.
All right. Well, there is the shareholder meeting.
First ever for me. That was definitely interesting.
I will say for the credit for Josh, I will say this is where you can kind of get the sense, like in the very beginning when it showed him and he was talking about Bob and the legacy of the company, you could see that was kind of scripted, which it needed to be. He's standing in Burbank, he has his cue cards that it has to be a specific time frame and everything. So you can kind of see where when Bob was talking and when Damara was talking, that was scripted. But when he was talking for the Q&A section of it, I have to say he spoke very clear. I agree with Remy D. He didn't stutter. There was no long-term pauses. He spoke of how he knew a lot of different assets of the company in the many different divisions. So that's a great start. I know we still have to see him in action, but I think that's a very great start. I do think that he kind of downplayed the questions for the DAS or the DOS, however people say it, because I think like in the moment, you don't really know how to talk about something as touchy of a subject as that. And with him being his first day in,
sure,
that's... Well, that you have to, be careful, with that.
It's interesting you mentioned that, George, because when I was listening to myself, hearing it, it is a very touchy subject because you almost have to tap dance around to not say something wrong, say something personal, say something that might be offensive. And quite frankly, I know he downplayed it, and I know a lot of people wanted the answer they wanted to hear from Josh. I think personally, the only other way he couldn't answer that, besides of what he answered, was we're looking into the DOS system. We've heard the complaints. We know it's difficult at times, and we are working to restructure it. I think if he wouldn't have said something like that, it wouldn't have gave people, especially people that use the DOS system, hope. Because I've seen it being at Disneyland and now being at Walt Disney World for my first time. I have seen people that clearly need the DOS system and not work to the way that it should work. And that's kind of what we've talked about, me and you, George, with the Magic Key system at Disneyland. That needs to be reworked. Then you got the Lightning Lane that needs to be reworked. So, he could have answered it like that, but he chose to tap dance around. But I do have to say, though, for the Q&A, he, like George mentioned, and Remy D, no stutter. He was on point, and I felt for his first ever shareholders Q&A session as the CEO, he did very well, I think.
Sorry, I think he did too. I think it was a great start. As I said, I have positive high hopes. I was kind of hoping that something would have been announced for D23, but now that the shareholders meeting is over and Josh has now stepped into that role, I would say within the next couple days, I think we should be getting the info very soon for D23, because it was showcased on the shareholders meeting on the little montage video multiple times.
It was. Now, I have to bring something up, though. I know you're a veteran at this. You are a veteran. Disney Cruise Lines, what do you think about the new ship, calling it Believe?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, 'cause I want to showcase, because this is proof in the pudding, that of how you guys know of how I can like hit on stuff. Okay, so here's my phone. Oh, you can't see. Hold on. Man, hold on 1 second. I'm going to see if I could remove this visual effect here.
Oh, the green screen. There you go.
Okay. So I want you guys to see that. Here's my phone. See, I don't know if you guys can see. Okay.
I can kind of see it.
Okay. See, it says 2018. That's the year that we wrote that. And it says Disney Cruise Line ship names at the top.
Yes.
You see that? So I'm going to click on that. And here are the ship names that I wrote down.
And George called it the Believe.
There's the Believe. And I also wrote down the Adventure and the Wish.
Nice.
So I got 3 out of 3 so far. So the rest I have the Discovery, the Enchantment, the Imagine, and the Legend.
I love it. I love it. You know what? I'm actually surprised, though. Okay, so, I obviously the cruise lines for Disney weren't around with Walt. I wonder if they would actually name a ship after him. You would think at some point they would.
It's possible if they kind of like run out of, I guess, well, in a sense, that could be what is about like for the Disney Legend. Because I mean, Walt legend in his own right. Or Peter says the Disney Walt ship.
Okay.
It's possible. I mean, eventually they're gonna run out of names for like how they use like the Wish and and even also, so they're gonna have to pivot to something.
100%. I want to ask you, George, because Josh, towards the end of the Q&A session, actually got asked about the Lightning Lane and how it differs between Walt Disney World and Disneyland, because I know a lot of us that either use Lightning Lane for the day or we don't use Lightning Lane. It seems like Walt Disney World, obviously being a bigger resort with 4 parks to choose from, Lightning Lane is not that big of a problem that I can see. But at Disneyland, it's chaos because you got Lightning Lane that's longer than the actual queue line. But then because they paid for the Lightning Lane and it's not a free commodity like it used to be back in the day when it was Fast Pass, what winds up happening is Lightning Lane, they get to go in first into the attraction because they paid for it, so that's fair. But then all the people in the general admission line kind of get screwed because now they're waiting twice, if not 3 times longer, and it just creates a spaghetti of a mess. So do you think he answered that appropriately, or do you think he should have said something else about that?
No, I think he answered it appropriately, even though it's not what we all want to hear. Because technically, right now, that's what it is. And I actually been saying that for quite some time. Disneyland and Walt Disney World operate very differently because of how the resorts were placated in the very beginning. Walt Disney World was opened with a bang that it was for tourism, international travel. That's how it always was. Yes, I do agree that Walt made the statement when he opened Disneyland in 1955, to all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. But I feel like it wasn't set as a cross-marketing for it to be the global sensation that Walt Disney World is today, because he only purchased a small parchment of land. Sure. Then you had businesses and domestic homeowners moving in, and that's what Walt couldn't stand. He loved Disneyland, but that's what he couldn't stand, and that's why the genesis of Walt Disney World came about, because he knew when he had the idea for Walt Disney World, it was not to do what happened with Disneyland. So that's why he purchased 47 square miles of all that swampland. Some of it got sold off, and as time went on, which I believe it's now 40 square miles. And some land is still designated for conservation and wildlife that is not to be touched. That was Walt's wishes. But I think in time, this is why Disneyland is going to get that treatment. Maybe not exactly like Walt Disney World, but through Disneyland forward. And I think in time it will, but I think with the Lightning Lane right now, it still placates to the California locals.
I 100% agree with that. My whole thing is, again, it's day one for everybody. Josh, Dana Walden, which I'm actually surprised we didn't get any questions from Dana Walden, or at least her speak a little bit. That was kind of interesting.
We saw that. We actually heard her speak at the Oscars.
We did.
That was the first time. I didn't even know she had a voice.
Oh my God. But going back to Disneyland though, I honestly think that going forward, you start, baby steps. I think the DOS system needs to be readjusted. I even posted in the comments during the shareholders meeting that needs to be addressed. Then Lightning Lane needs to be addressed. Then the Magic Key program needs to be addressed. And then, obviously I'm going to be talking about a lot of this stuff on the Sunday's Conductor live stream. But I think those 3 things right now are some of the biggest issues that Disney has at their parks with operations, is that. Because I've talked to people that use the DOS system, and they have to go through a hoopla of crazy nonsense to sit there and get the DAWS pass. And then I've heard people complain about the Lightning Lane, paying $30, $40 for a Lightning Lane. That's not included with the individual Lightning Lanes, and people are complaining about it. Then I'm hearing about the Magic Key program where, you have to reserve park days, which I talked to multiple cast members while I was out in Walt Disney World and they were so nice and kind and helpful. But I asked them, I said, how has it been at the parks since you guys still have the reservation system, but you don't activate it unless it's during busy times of the season? And they said, actually, it's not bad. It's actually gotten better. People are a lot calmer about it. They're not complaining as much because you got the best of both worlds. Out here, it's like they want to lock in tight. They don't want to let go of the reservation system. But it's kind of chaos, because Walt Disney World, you have 4 parks, and then you have 2 water parks on top of that. So basically you have 6 parks to choose from, basically maybe 5 parks at any given point, 5 parks to choose from. And right now at Disneyland, you only have 2. And DCA, it's going through a massive transformation, but it's just, it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating that we can't get rid of the reservation system, or at least modify it. Because that's one thing I saw in Walt Disney World, is the modifications they've made to not only their annual pass system, but how they do security is so much more efficient. Disneyland and Universal Hollywood is in the dinosaur age, and it drives me crazy.
Oh, it is. It really is. And again, I feel like it's because they feel like that they're just placating to California locals. That's the fact. But I do agree with you that that shouldn't be an excuse to be in that dinosaur age. They need to update that stuff, because it's like, you just walk through. If you don't get, buzzed, you continue on. If you do, you move over to the side. They check your bags. They wand you, all 9 yards, and then you're good to go. Yep. Like, I think Disneyland Forward will help that. I think, honestly, when Coco comes on board, the expansion of Avengers, Avatar, future expansions at the parks, the third gate, they're going to have to change up something, because the demand for this, it's going to be through the roof, and you're going to have a line out the wazoo while individual security officers are checking each bag one by one by hand. Yeah, you just can't.
That's annoying. And one thing I saw at Magic Kingdom, one thing I've seen, pictures, videos, but I got to see it firsthand when I was there. Their entrance gate, even their security, and I've been saying this on my live streams, even with George on the live streams or on his channel during live streams, I noticed something right off the gate. I looked at the entrance gates, and they had a section for people that were annual pass holders. They had a section for ticket holders. They had a section for strollers. Why we cannot implement something as simple as that at our entrance gates for Disneyland and DCA, and included it with security, which had the same system out there as the entrance gates. I don't know why something that simple we cannot implement here. It would allow so much less stress and aggravation at security and at the entrance gates. I don't know why we don't embrace that. It's not something that they have to, they don't have to build infrastructure for. It's just reorganizing teams of security, reorganizing teams of cast members to make that happen.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. So I'm just going to bring up one more final topic before we get out of here, because we have to check out, and then we're going to actually head over to the parks for food and wine, which we will be seeing you very soon. But on the studio side of it, by watching that sneak peek of Toy Story 5, I have to say, I was not looking forward to it. But the more that I'm seeing of it, I think it's going to be so much better than Toy Story 4. I don't know what they were smoking when they wrote the script for Toy Story 4, but I feel like Toy Story 5 is going to kind of refresh it to make it that comeback. Even though I think Toy Story should have ended with 3. It was like a great trilogy. But I think Toy Story 5 will be a great refresher.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm excited for it, because I love Woody and I love Buzz, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, two of my favorite actors of all time. Let me ask you this. Were you shocked to see the release date for The Incredibles 3? And what was the other one? Moana 2? No, not Moana 2.
Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch 2.
That was the next thing, that was the next thing I was going to bring up, because usually they save those announcements for D23.
You would think.
I'm really surprised they actually dropped those dates for both of those movies.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. The fact that they released the dates for that, it's kind of giving me a thought that maybe they will have trailers for both those movies ready and available to release at the expo.
That's very true. They may have teaser trailers, or they may have like concept art, or like sneak, because that's what they do for the films showcase. They will showcase never before seen footage that hasn't been dropped to the public yet. I remember at one D23 they dropped the trailer for Endgame, I think almost a year before it dropped to the public, or 6 months or something. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that could kind of be like a build-up anticipation for it. I think it's really cool that actually Lilo and Stitch 2 is dropping on the same day as it did last year. It dropped on May 26th. So it's going to be May 26th again, but in 2028.
And then Peter asked, did we see the Spider-Man trailer? I watched it this morning. Phenomenal.
Very great. I can't wait to see it. I mean, it's Spider-Man. It's Tom Holland. He and Zendaya are on like a high right now. With everybody talking. They got married and what have you. But yeah, I can't wait to see it. And I think today, out of all days, was the best day for them to drop the trailer.
Oh, 100%.
And then also too, I wanted to bring up Hoppers, because Hoppers was brought up multiple times.
Okay.
Yes, that is true, Brandon. Yeah, they didn't address it because it is a Sony project, but I think just because it's in correlation, they probably maybe talked to Sony and was like, hey, if you're going to drop the trailer, would you mind waiting till Wednesday for our shareholders? I don't know if that's the case. That's just, my thought process on it. But with Hoppers, I feel like, as I said, that became the surprise hit that everyone was not expecting, myself included, because when we first saw the trailer, we're like, oh my God, what is this thing? Like, this thing is so dumb. But when we went to go see it for like our sneak preview through D23, it was phenomenal. I encourage anyone who hasn't seen it yet, go see it in theaters. It is a theater-worthy movie. And I think that's going to play big in the parks in the coming years. Like, I think they could possibly add it to Pixar Pier, or maybe an expansion of DCA in the Simba lot. And I do think it would go very well in Animal Kingdom, for sure.
I think it would do very well. And we kind of talked about it a little bit on the trip. Again, I don't want to dive too much into this, because again, I want to talk about it on my Conductor Sunday live stream if you're available, George, on that Sunday to talk about it. But one thing we kind of mentioned, because you had Bugs in the Tree of Life, the show, and then it went to Zootopia, which we watched, and then we were talking about possibly, well, what if they threw Hoppers in there as a show?
And I think Hoppers would do very well in the Tree of Life. I think it would do better than Zootopia, but I have to say, actually seeing the Zootopia show in person, it's better than what I thought it would be. But I think in comparison, Hoppers would do so much better with the storytelling and the surrounding area than actually Zootopia.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, not ask, but Peter brought up some things, and then I want to ask you a question before we end today. And we got Madame Lizelle in the house. Madame Lizelle, I will tell you this. George actually got me to dance a little bit and sing. Isn't that shocking? He
he let his hair down a little bit there in Florida.
I did. Peter said they actually talked about No Way Home a few years back at another shareholders meeting. So I'm kind of curious why they didn't. If they did it for that, why wouldn't they mention it this morning? I'm just curious.
So if that's the case, and I don't remember them doing it, but Peter, I believe in I trust in your statement. Maybe they didn't know Sony was going to drop it. Maybe it was kind of like a surprise, like last minute thing. So, so maybe they just weren't prepared for it.
So the final thing I want to bring up to you, George, is because Josh was asked at one point about the parks and experiences, and he kind of quoted Walt a little bit, saying that we're always evolving, always changing, and we're trying not to hold on to things.
Right.
And I think you know where I'm pivoting to. If that's the case, then why are we holding on to Tomorrowland that desperately just needs to be bulldozed and rebuilt? Why?
Maybe that was kind of like a little
sneak
hint.
Preview.
Maybe. I mean, I know we got turned down so many times when it comes to Tomorrowland at many of these events. So I don't want to get anybody's hype up, but I mean, now that Josh is at the helm, who knows?
Well, see, it's interesting because obviously Tomorrowland is a big problem. But when I was in Epcot, walking next to the former Life Pavilion, which is that big golden dome that looks uglier than sin, to get to, oh my gosh, help me out, George, the attraction.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind.
Guardians. That's another project. So it's not just Disneyland and Tomorrowland. There's other projects I even saw at Walt Disney World. In all 4 parks, I'm like, why are you guys just letting us sit here and do nothing? What's going on here? But again, I'm going to give Josh the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to wait a year from now. And if those things are still sitting there, I'm going to say, okay, you've been in the high chair for a year now. What's going on here?
Yeah. It's, and I think people will have that discussion probably after this D23, if nothing is addressed. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. As I said, it was a great first start, for his first day. I know we'll have to wait and see, what is to become like as time goes on. And I'm for sure, he's going to make decisions that we're not going to agree upon. I think we would anybody, but I think honestly, this is a good, refreshing start. I really do.
I think so. And like I said at the very beginning, he handled the Q&A sessions very, very well. I liked what he said. I wasn't disappointed at all. Now, like I said, the DAWs system, touchy subject. I'm kind of impressed how he maneuvered it. And then also with the lightning lane, he kind of dived in a little deeper on that. Not too much, but going forward, I desperately think those two things for sure need to be addressed. They can't go on much longer. They just cannot. But it was my first ever shareholders meeting with George and just in general. So I can't wait to do more of these with George. But like George mentioned, we are going to get ready to head to DCA. I guess Mondo is there at Disneyland, Five Fires. He is actually at Disneyland and it's chaos. So hopefully DCA is not chaos.
Well, we'll have to wait and see because at 7 a.m., like the spring breakers have finally bestowed their presence upon us. So
100%. And then the last thing I want to do is I did it right at the beginning. I just did it again. So now 10 lucky people will have for a month trial, but you can subscribe and keep going after a month. 10 theme park conductor memberships, all the shows that I experienced firsthand from my first ever time in person at Walt Disney World. They are all up on the channel. There's one more that's uploading, and then for my membership, my members of Conductor Ultimate fans, I do have an email. It's theme park conductor, all one word, at yahoo.com. If you just became a member or you are a member, I encourage everyone to email me at that email. That way you can receive 2 free items that are basically a congratulations for joining the members content and just membership in general. And I want to give a big shout out to Hollow Gelato and his wonderful wife Abigail for making that possible. It's a cute little button and a sticker, and actually the stickers are going to be changing through the years. Me and George are working on it very hard to have seasonal stickers. So if you are a member of Conductor Ultimate fan for Theme Park Conductor, email me at themeparkconductor@yahoo.com to send me your username so I can verify, and send me a mailing address where I can ship your free items.
Absolutely. Very well said. I have to work on trying to see what's going on for me gifting memberships. For some reason, it is not showcasing on my side. So I have to look into that. But in any case, in the meantime, you also could become a member of Hollow Gelato as well. I am also dropping all the live shows and entertainment portion of our trip. 2 videos just dropped for members this morning, which was the Festival of the Lion King show at Animal Kingdom and The Little Mermaid at Disney's Hollywood Studios. There is more to come for members, so please feel free to become a member of Hollow Gelato. And also, of course, just check out the channel in general. There's a lot more content coming out, especially from the trip. And thank you, Ryan, for joining. Great to have you in. And really quick, one last question from Mademoiselle. No, they did not mention anything of D23, but I'm for sure within the next couple days, now that the shareholders meeting is over, and Michael Vargo said that it would be at the beginning of April. We should be getting the news probably within the next couple days. So I just wanted to mention that. But in any case, Conductor, thank you so much for joining me on the shareholders meeting. Conductor will more so move forward with doing the shareholders meetings and the quarterly earnings calls with me. So definitely look out for that in the near future. I want to thank everybody who was able to join us for the shareholders meeting. Thank you so much. And congratulations to the 10 people that was gifted the free theme park conductor memberships. But in any case, Conductor, if you want to let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me at Instagram at theme_park_conductor. You can also find me on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Conductor Sunday live streams, where I have amazing guests like the one and only George from Hollow Gelato, as he gives his spicy Italian theme park opinions, and I love him so much for it. And so many others as we break down Disney and Universal news. We speculate, we talk rumors, and everything that is theme park related. And then this coming Sunday for the live stream, just to give everyone a sneak preview, I will have George on, and we will be discussing our trip in more detail, or we're going to have other guests on. We're still working it out, but definitely stay tuned for this Sunday because it's going to be a great one. I can't wait to see you all there.
Absolutely. And of course, everyone, follow me, George the Disney Italiano, and Abby on Hollow Gelato. You can find us on Instagram and here on YouTube. But in any case, we got to check out Conductor has to get his butt down here, and we're heading over to Disneyland for food and wine. And definitely look out for that content as well, because we'll be working on that on top of still doing all the Florida content for you guys. So a lot on the horizon, just like the shareholders meeting that tomorrow has promised us for a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. In any case, again, thank you all so much for joining. I'm George, the Disney Italiano, and as I always say, in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.